So Austin, let me walk you through what I worked on today. So what I worked on today is basically vectorization techniques using BOW, that is bag of weight. Let me quickly walk through this. So at this point, I'm just doing some imputation, just importing libraries that I'm going to be using in the application. Then I decided to use Streamlit for this to just display the work instead of using notebook. Then I use Python, then I use Streamlit to display it. Okay, then I read this data, I load the data sample, the data is here, this is the data. Then I loaded it and I store it in this function because I'm going to be using it later. I also catch it in the Streamlit catch. This is the important part. This is the process of cleaning the data, right? So what I did here is actually um, created an object of my Porter stemma. That's what I want to use. You can use snowball stemma. You can use Regex expression stemma, or you can even use lemmatization. So I decided to use this Porter stemma. Then stopwords. I created a set to quickly run through all the stopwords that are available. Also, I created an empty array. Now, this is the important steps. So what I did here is basically I loop through the data frame that will be passed to this function. Then I lowercase each of them. This is the process of test processing. Yeah, cleaning process of cleaning the test, right? So I ensure that all the tests are in lowercase. I removed the special characters by ensuring that only these are acceptable. This actually is just saying that not anything that is outside of this A to Z, and I'm not taking it. Even digit, I'm not taking. Then I replace them with space. Then I pass my lowercase message and assigned it to message variable. Then I tokenize it. Tokenize it in the sense that I converted it. I use word tokenization. We have sent tokenization, we have word tokenization, we have different kind of tokenization. Then I used word tokenization to actually convert each of the message into words. You understand? Each of the sentence, yeah, you can put it that way. That is in the row. I converted it to words. Then it's gonna be an array. Then I use this is list comprehension. I use list comprehension to ensure that the words that I'm getting are not in the stop words. So I'm removing the stop words from the words. You understand? So that I will work with meaningful data like A, D, all those things are being removed. Then after I've removed them by doing through my loop and filtering, then I apply stem to this. Yeah. Then remember that this is not going to be an array of words. I have to convert it back to sentence and assign it to message. So this message is being replaced. This message is being replaced. Then the last thing I did here was I appended it to the processed data. I appended it to the processed data. To the data I'm processing, I appended each of these. I created a dictionary because I'm going to be creating a Panda with this dictionary so I can have my label and my message in it. That is, I'm basically creating this data block. After manipulation, I had to recreate it back. Yeah, then that's what this function is basically doing. Then the next function is creating the bag of words. So what I did in this place is that I use a CountVectorizer with the mass features of 10. So with the mass features of 100, that means I want to get the top 100 features. You understand? Then the bag of what metrics, then I transformed that and converted it to an array. Then I returned the bag of what metrics and also the feature names out. I also got the future names. You understand? Because they're gonna be having names. Each of those sentences are being converted, and also each of those sentences are vectorized in a row row column base. Okay. Then I load the data, load function, assigned it to SMS PD. Then I processed it. After process, I assigned it here. Then I get the words and this. Yeah. So So this is my Streamlit actually. This is my Streamlit process that actually gonna display this in a web form. You understand? So that's what basically I'm just doing. So let's see what's happening on the browser. So this is the Streamlit output. So let's build something amazing with BOW. So what I'm doing here is that this file will actually show how data is being processed before vectorizing. Then the stopwords, these are all the stopwords you have available in NLTK, natural language toolkit library that I'm using. You can actually put it in full screen if you want, so you can go through all the words. You can as well download it and you can search for a specific word. Okay, so that's for that. Then before processing, anyways, you can see the stopwords in my code. In my course, this is the place where I actually displaying it, and this is the title, and that's why you're seeing all the stuff in the browser. I don't want to go through the streamlights. Actually, that's why I'm not doing much explanation there. Okay, so before processing SMS Spam Collection data set, before the data set is being processed, I put it so I actually displayed it so you can see the difference after it has been processed. Let's just pay attention to this first sentence, which is a go until zero and so on. So the processing steps that we took was we converted it to letters to lowercase, we apply regular expression, they will tokenize, we remove stopwords and we get the word stem or lemma if you want. Lemmatization and stem. The difference is that lemmatization actually gives you more accurate weights. So you can see this data is being this is the first tool of the unprocessed data. The processed data, you can see it's being converted to lowercase and special characters are removed, as well as we got the stem words. Let me show you an example. Can you see crazy? Crazy has been changed to crazy. I think that's not the stem word for crazy, but so that's the actual limitation of our stemming. So lemmatization will give you the actual word. Then let me see. So we have joke here in line two. We have joking here. So the same word for joking is joke. Yeah, that's why we have joke here. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, so the final step, which is vectorizing. So this is vector of each of those words. You can see we have already asked. So these are the unique words for from each of those words. These are the unique words, and the unique words I use it to make a column. And these are the vectors of each of these words if they are present or not. So this is the data. This is the data. Now, this is the actual data we are going to now pass to the ML algorithm. To the machine learning, we're going to be to the machine learning algorithm we're going to be using is the vectorized data we're going to be using. We're going to pass to it. So this is the process of processing test and also vectorizing. Thank you very much.